Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to be here because as you can tell by the title of the video, I am finally done with nursing school, and the best part also is that I passed the NCLEX in 75 questions and I'm so freaking happy. I'm so happy to be done. So I am done. No more late night studying, no more studying by myself, no more studying with my friends and groups, no more waking up in the middle of the night and having to drive 2 hours away to a clinical, no more stressing about exams plus a group project plus all these other things, no more worrying about clinicals. Now I can finally just focus on working and being the best nurse that I can possibly be. So today I thought I would make this video and talk about my fourth semester, which was my last semester in the accelerated nursing program. And I also want to talk a little bit about graduation and everything that happened since the last time I recorded a video. I have my notebook here. I wrote some notes. I'm going to be talking about my last semester, graduation, and I'm also going to be doing a Q&A at the very end. You guys probably saw my Instagram that I posted a question poll, so you guys can submit your questions and I'm going to be answering them at the end of the video. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so fourth semester was actually very easy compared to level 3. If you guys remember in my last video, I told you guys that my cohort was the last cohort that was going through this particular curriculum. You went from like a very stressful, hardcore semester to like a very, a little bit easier semester. So we were the last cohort that went through that. The next cohort, now they actually changed the curriculum completely to kind of like even out and balance out those 2 semesters so that level 3 isn't so stressful and then level 4 isn't so chill, I guess. But for us, we had community health, leadership and management, and then our capstone class. I actually really enjoyed this semester, particularly community health. It actually surprised me by how much I enjoyed it, and I feel like at some point in the future maybe I would consider doing something in community health. Yeah, some of the things that we did in community health was a vaccination clinic, which was completely student run. I was able to give a lot of Moderna vaccinations, Pfizer vaccinations, and I felt like it helped build my confidence, talking to patients and giving them these vaccinations and working on the computer, submitting their information. We did this for 2 weeks, and then by the end of the 2 weeks I felt like such a pro just giving vaccines because I was just injecting people back to back to back. And I actually really liked it. I feel like I could see myself doing that maybe as like a part-time job on the side sometime. Another thing that we did in our community health clinic was also to go to a Psych Clinic, which was very interesting. We got to basically see the outpatient aspect of things. I learned so much about mental health, and I have learned the importance of mental health, and it's something that I feel like we should be discussing more in the public setting. Like I feel like that's something that more people should learn about, and it shouldn't be so taboo. I really appreciated that clinical rotation. It was very humbling. I got to see a lot of things, and I can also see myself doing something like that in the future. I feel like I keep saying that, but honestly, community health I really did enjoy it a lot. In terms of the classroom setting, we also had to complete some Hesi exams. Not gonna lie, they were kind of annoying having to go through them because sometimes we would have them right in the middle of the busiest week ever where we had like exams or like projects due. So having a Hesi exam in the midst of all that chaos sometimes could, it was a little bit overwhelming. I have to say that they were helpful in the sense that you kind of got an idea of like what NCLEX questions would be like, so it kind of prepared you for that. Just be aware that, at least for my program, we did have to take Hesi exams for our community health. So our other class was leadership and management. We basically learned about like the laws and regulations, ethics, morality. We learned about the different roles of the RNs, the LPNs, the CNAs, the techs. We learned about everybody's roles, who we can delegate to, what we can and cannot do, and when we should reach out to the healthcare provider. So that was actually a very important class because especially in the climate that we are now, it's very important that you are aware of your hospital's regulations and policies and what you can and cannot do, because you definitely don't want to get caught in, you know, making a mistake that could potentially lead to you losing your license. You have to be very careful. Definitely pay attention to this class, because a lot of the questions that come up on exams have to do with delegation. So definitely know your scope of practice, and definitely know, you know, what you can and can't delegate to an LPN or a CNA. All right, and now for Capstone. Capstone was the best clinical rotation ever. A lot of it has to do because I had the most amazing clinical instructor ever. She was amazing. I was able to do my rotation in a labor and delivery / postpartum / NICU area. So we basically rotated every week. On certain weeks I was in labor and delivery, on certain weeks I was in postpartum, and they also had like an outpatient OBGYN clinic, and I also got to observe in the NICU. This was the semester that truly solidified the fact that I would love to work in the NICU. Originally, in my previous semester, when I was able to work with newborns, I basically worked with the babies that were very healthy, basically feeders and growers. I wasn't really exposed to like critical cases, and that's something that I was curious about, and I got the opportunity to see that in this final clinical rotation for my capstone. And the day when I went and observed in the NICU, it was mind-blowing how smart and just how organized these nurses are. Like, these were very critical babies. I have never seen a patient with so many wires, so many ventilators, and just so much going on at once, and yet the nurses were so on top of it. It just blew my mind. There was this one patient that was very critical, very critically ill, and the nurse ended up having to call respiratory, they called x-rays, they ended up calling a rapid. The room just got filled with people, and they saw that I was there, that I was a student, and instead of like, you know, brushing me aside or like telling me to move out of the way, they actually made me get in there, and they were handing me things, and they were telling me like who to give what to, like, and at the same time they were explaining to me out loud what they were doing and why they were doing it. So I felt like I was a part of that rapid response, and I was also learning at the same time, and it was so nice like having the team explain things to me. And it wasn't just the nurses, it was also the doctors who were explaining things to me. So I loved it. I learned so much on that one unit, and I was like, this is for me, this is for me, this is it. I know now, this is for me. Like, I was kind of stuck between where I wanted to work after graduation, but after that day I was like, this is it, this is what I want. I'm gonna go for it. So I was able to observe in the NICU. I was able to observe in labor and delivery, which was crazy because labor and delivery and the NICU actually go hand in hand. I was able to see a lot of vaginal births, a lot of cesarean sections, and I was able to see the labor and delivery aspect and care of the mother. And I was also able to see when the NICU team would come into the operating room and, you know, deliver the baby and then assess the baby. So I was able to see the immediate postpartum care of the baby by the NICU team. So I was fortunate enough to literally see the entire pregnancy process basically, because we were able to observe in the outpatient OBGYN clinic. So I got to see patients who were interested in different types of birth control. I was able to see patients who were planning on having a family. I was able to see patients who had just gotten pregnant. I was able to see patients at like different stages of their pregnancies. Then I was able to see, you know, the antepartum, intrapartum, postpartum, the NICU, and even in the outpatient setting, I was able to see the moms who came in postpartum just to make sure that everything was okay. It was just amazing. Like, I loved my capstone. I knew that I wanted to do something that had to do with mother-baby, and this capstone definitely solidified that for me. Another thing about capstone in terms of the classroom setting was that we also had Hesi exams in this class, and the difference between the Hesi for the capstone class versus community was that the Hesi had the Hesi for Capstone had 150 questions, I think it was, as opposed to like, I think it was like 70 or 75, something like that. Like I know the Capstone Hesi had way more questions in it, and that was a more accurate indicator of whether or not you would pass the NCLEX. Honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about the Hesi. Like, to be honest, I wasn't the best Hesi test taker, and yet I passed the NCLEX on my first try at 75 questions. And honestly, when it comes to the NCLEX, all you have to worry about is really taking some time off to study for it, because it's a lot of info and you just need to do practice question after practice question after practice question. Yes, take advantage of the Hesi exams to help you familiarize yourself with what the NCLEX questions could possibly be like, but I would say don't get yourself too wrapped up in it, because at the end of the day, the studying that you do after graduation is what's going to help you the best, especially if you do practice questions, especially if you use softwares like UWorld or Archer and things like that. I'm going to make another video specifically discussing the NCLEX and my tips and advice for you, so keep an eye out for that one, because I won't be able to fit that into this video. It's going to be a whole different video on its own, because I have a lot of advice and tips that I can share with you guys. Another thing that I wanted to share with you guys is that before graduation, I already had some jobs lined up for me, and not just me, but majority of my classmates already had a job lined up for them before we were even done with school, before we even graduated. For my capstone class, my instructor was very kind enough to actually reach out to one of the local hospitals, ask them if they were interested in interviewing us, and the hospital actually held like this big informational session. We all went, whoever was interested went in and attended. We got to learn like the benefits, what they have to offer, the settings and units that they had available for new grads, and then we applied. This hospital did actually have a opening in the NICU, and something that I wanted to share is that it's actually very, very difficult for new grads to get a job in specialties, like especially like in intensive care units. It's very difficult because usually hospitals want a nurse with experience, right? But this hospital in particular, it's a teaching hospital. They have a lot of residency programs, which is basically where they take new grads and prepare them to work in this particular unit, and they teach them everything that they need to know, and then once they go through that training period, then they're able to work independently on the unit. One of the residency programs that they had was actually for the NICU. They were only hiring one person, and there was a ton of people that applied for that position. And I was super nervous because one, this was like my first interview with any hospital, and two, I felt like, you know, as a new grad, as a student, you don't really have a lot of experience. The only experience you have is whatever you experienced in your clinical rotations, and sometimes you don't get to see everything. But I guess I did very well. I interviewed well, and the people liked me, because in the end, I was the one who was offered the position, and I was so happy. So I'm sharing this with you guys just to say that if you have the opportunity to interview with hospitals before you even graduate, or if you know of any hospitals that are offering residency programs, I would highly suggest it. I'm also going to make another video in regards to interviews and interviewing tips, because I actually did a lot of research and a lot of work before I went on these interviews. In the end, I was offered 2 full-time jobs in the NICU, and I accepted one at my dream hospital that I am so happy and so blessed to have been offered a position in, because they weren't even hiring. Like when I first reached out to them, they weren't even hiring, and I got a position as a new grad in the NICU in a residency, and they're going to teach me everything that I need to know for the NICU, so I'm so excited for that. And I'm definitely going to be documenting my journey with that, because even though I'm nervous, I'm just as equally excited, and I can't wait to be working with these babies. I'm so excited. Like I feel like I get a little emotional just thinking about it. Jumping back in regards to the NCLEX, my school was kind enough to offer us like a discount through UWorld. So we did use UWorld. They gave us a discount, and it came with, I think you were able to choose which package you wanted, but I ended up purchasing the one that came with the question bank And again, I'm going to share more info in another video, but just so that for those of you who are watching who are currently in my program, we did get UWorld and we did have the option of selecting the different packages, and I would highly suggest you guys do the one that has the question bank and the 2 assessments, because I know some people who bought the one that only has 1 assessment and they regretted it. They wish they had gotten the one with the 2 assessments, so you can get a better gauge of like where you stand in terms of like a higher chance of passing the NCLEX, or you know, you need to do more work basically. Something else that was exciting was that our cohort was the first cohort to finally have a graduation, you know, celebration at the end after we graduated. Like our school hosted a place for us to basically celebrate and have fun after graduation. Before our cohort, unfortunately, they did not have a chance to have this gathering because of, you know, the current climate, but we got the opportunity to celebrate. We all got together and we had so much fun. I actually got an award. I think it was like the next influencer in the cohort or something like that. I was nominated as like the next influencer or like Instagram/TikToker or something like that, which was really funny. After that, we finally went to graduation, which was so memorable. I almost cried because I really feel like this was the hardest thing I've ever done career-wise. Like, I am so happy that I graduated with high honors. It's in my transcript that I graduated with, you know, a high GPA that I'm very proud of. My entire family was there. All of my nursing friends were there. We all graduated, and I was so happy to see that we all made it to the very end. With that being said, let me answer some of your questions. How do you study when you feel overwhelmed? Sometimes I feel like my cohort knows a lot. It sounds like some of the people in your cohort maybe have some experience as like a tech or something, so they might be a little bit more familiar with things. But in terms of, you know, how do you study when you feel overwhelmed? That's a hard one to answer, because nursing school as a whole is already so difficult and stressful, and you know, condensing that into, I think my program was 16 months. Condensing that even further just makes it that much more stressful. The best advice I can give you is that you truly do need to take some time for yourself. What I would personally do whenever I felt overwhelmed was that I would honestly just step away from my desk and go drink some water, go for a quick walk with my dog, or I would go take a quick shower, because just getting your mind off of these things sometimes, you know, just taking that quick break help refresh your mind so that you could come back feeling a little better. Because whenever I just kept going and going and going, studying, I felt like nothing was truly sticking. Like I was just going through all this information and nothing was truly sticking, and it's like, you know, there's no point in that. You have to make sure that you are retaining the information. So step away for like 10 minutes, take a breather, drink some water, and then go back to doing your studies. If you still feel confused and you're still having trouble, I highly suggest you reach out to the tutoring organization from your school. And that is something that I used throughout my entire program. I was always doing tutoring sessions and they helped me a lot. Something else that I would suggest if you are just starting out nursing school, like if you're about to start your freshman year, is to check out the Crucial Concepts Bootcamp by Straight A Nurse. I'm gonna put it in the description box below, and I'm gonna try and put it here in the video. That bootcamp, I actually did it right before I started the program, and it helped me so much with like establishing like a basic foundation of the things that we needed to know for nursing school. Med math, ABGs, just like your basic things that people tend to have trouble with in nursing school. That will give you like a huge advantage when you start, just so that you don't feel so overwhelmed, you know, especially if you have no background experience in healthcare. I would highly recommend it. No, I'm not sponsored by her. No, you know, I'm not paid or anything. I just truly love Nurse Mo. She was so helpful, and this program helped me personally. Like by the time I learned about like electrolytes and like all that stuff, I already knew like all of the levels, like all of the signs and symptoms. Like I already knew most of the stuff that I needed to know. Advice for those interested in ABSN. Okay, in general, I feel like if you are interested in nursing but you're not sure if it's for you, then definitely volunteer at your local hospital if they're offering volunteering. I'm not sure if hospitals are open to that again, just because with the climate and the way things are right now, but if there is, I would highly suggest you volunteer. Or just, if you know any nurses, just, invite them out for lunch or just, some coffee, and just spend some time with them asking them, about the profession in general. There's a ton of YouTube videos of people talking about nursing, like a day in the life of a nurse. What I personally did was I definitely volunteered. Also because it's good to put that in your application when you're applying to nursing schools, that you have some kind of volunteer background. I also would suggest that you reach out to the schools and ask them, how long is the program? What is the tuition like? Do they offer tuition reimbursements? Do they offer scholarships? What is the NCLEX passing rate? That is very important, actually. I think that's actually one of the most important things, because you want to make sure that you go to a program that's truly preparing you to pass the NCLEX, because at the end of the day, it does not matter if you pass the program. What you need to pass in order to be able to practice as a nurse is the NCLEX. So you want to make sure you go to a program that will prepare you for that, and just attend one of their information sessions, visit the campus if you can, and speak to some of the professors if you can. I honestly did all of that myself, and that's what led me to apply to this particular school, and I got accepted. Tips on how to survive the ABSN programs. How do you cope with stress? Whew. Okay, so this is kind of similar to my first question. Like I said, just make sure that you take some time for yourself, drink water, move, make sure you move and exercise. I feel like the ABSN program kind of forced me to be sedentary, because I was always sitting at my desk because of just the sheer amount of information and assignments and exams that we had. But at the end of the day, you truly do need to take some time for yourself. Even if it's just like a quick 10-minute walk, or just, making some tea, or just watching your favorite show, whatever it is that helps you really relax, just do 10 minutes of that at least, and just, relax for a little bit. If you're truly struggling, I would highly suggest that you speak to your professors. At the end of the day, they're here to help you, and I'm sure that many of the instructors have office hours, so just reach out to them, attend their office hours, talk to them, and you'd be surprised how much they're willing to help you. Also take advantage of the academic offices that offer tutoring. Like I said earlier, they are there to help you, and personally, the tutors in my school helped me so much, which is why I actually eventually ended up being a tutor myself, and I tried really hard to help all my students as much as I could. As a new grad, how were you able to negotiate your salary? I'm gonna go more into details about interviews and how I went about that whole process, but just to answer this quick question, I honestly don't think you can negotiate your salary as a new grad. I think they have like a starting point for everyone across the board, which I personally think is a little, it's a little unfair, because I know a lot of people in my cohort who had like years of experience in different things. For example, I know someone who was I think she worked in telemetry, like she was always monitoring the EKGs on like the strips on the monitor, and I believe she did that for about 10 years. So I feel like, experiences like that should be paid a little bit more, or like, for example, people like myself who do have some medical history, like medical experience, and are bilingual or trilingual, polyglots, I feel like they also deserve a little bit more compensation, but unfortunately, not all hospitals are like that, or at least in my experience, the hospitals I went to, all of the new grads had like a specific starting salary, and you couldn't really negotiate that, unfortunately. However, once you get at least a year's worth of experience, then you can always negotiate a higher salary with your hospital, or you can just go to a different hospital and negotiate with them based on whatever experience you have with the previous hospital. There's different ways to negotiate once you have some experience, but as a new grad, I don't think there's wiggle room with that. I think the only way I can think of that they might consider it is if you had been working with them, like in the system for a while, and then you're going into like an RN position, or if you are working like in an outpatient setting, then there's a little bit more wiggle room there. But in like the big hospital systems, unfortunately, majority just starts you off at like a specific salary level. But not to say that it's like a crappy salary. Majority of the salaries that I saw were actually very good. Even for new grads, I was quite surprised, but that also depends on where you're from. I know different states have different salaries. Everybody already knows that Cali is like the #1 state right now that pays nurses the most. But the Northeast actually pays really well too. So it all depends on your hospital system, and it all depends on your location. Things you wish you knew before you started the program. Oh man. How much weight I would gain. I gained a lot of weight. And that has to do with the fact that I became very sedentary from how much studying I was doing in front of my desk, and how unhealthy my diet was, to be honest. But ever since I graduated in May, I have actually lost a lot of weight. I have lost 10 pounds since May, and we are now in July, which is nuts. And the only thing I have done has been to be more active and eat better. That's it. I stopped eating fried stuff. I stopped eating pizzas. I stopped eating all this junk that I was eating before, like potato chips and stuff. And I've been eating fruits and chicken and all the healthy things, and I've been going on a walk every single day. And those two things alone have helped me lose so much weight. Like, it's insane. That's one thing that I wasn't expecting. Something else that I wish I knew was just how much time away from family I would be. I don't have any kids right now. I do have a husband, and I can't even imagine how difficult the program was for the students who do have families, who do have kids, because it was rough. I will be honest, it was very difficult at times, and I honestly have to give a round of applause to these students in my cohort who did have families, because I have no idea how they did it. But if they were able to do it, then so can you. At the end of the day, it's all about how organized you are and how you plan your day. You know, everything, it can be done. If they were able to do it, then so can you. But yeah, it definitely took a lot of time away from my family, and that was a little bit hard sometimes because I'm very family oriented and family is everything to me. So I'm finally able, I've been hanging out with them ever since I graduated, and it's been nice. The last thing I wish I knew before I started the program, not to sound like a negative Nancy, but I wish I knew how much this program would make me question or make me doubt how much, like, if I was enough, what it takes to get through the program. Because I thought it was just me having these thoughts, and then one day I had a conversation with my level 3 group, and we were all having the same thoughts. Things like, you know, can I do this? You know, what if I fail? What is my plan B if I don't get through it? Like, those are all very real, very raw emotions that we all experienced at least once in the program. And that's just something that you have to mentally and emotionally prepare yourself with, because it's gonna happen. It's gonna be that one class or that one exam that is just brutal, and it's gonna really, really, really make you reflect on yourself as a person. But I promise you that you can get through it. If I was able to get through it, then you can get through it. I think I'm gonna end this video by saying that I truly believe in all of you guys, and anybody who's interested in nursing school. I believe in you. I know that you can do it. Just make sure that you stay organized, that you take care of yourself, and use all of the resources available to you on your campus. I have a lot of people sending me questions on Instagram, asking me for advice and tips, and, you know, how did I do this? How did I do that? And I promise that I will get more videos out there answering all those questions. I already have planned a video about the NCLEX, about interviewing, all that stuff. So I truly do want to help you guys. I was in your shoes at one point, and now I'm here, and I hope that I can inspire you all to, you know, get into nursing school, get through the program, and become the best nurse that you guys can be. I do want to give a shout out to 2 of my followers, Karina, and I want to give a shout out to Karina XO and Goals Over Comfort, because I get a lot of questions from different followers, but I've noticed you two a lot. I just want to tell you guys that you guys got this, you guys can do it. I'm rooting for you guys, and you guys are going to be amazing nurses. I see you guys, I see your questions, and I appreciate all of the support, and I hope that these videos and my Instagram helps you guys with your journeys as well. Alright, and with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave a thumbs up and, you know, comment any questions that you guys have down below. Definitely give me a follow if you can, and turn on the notification bell if you're interested in more videos like this one. And once again, thank you so much for your support. I'm so happy I'm done finally, and I'm definitely going to be making more videos for you guys. All right, so until next time, bye guys.